On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are discussing Picard 202 Penance and the Strange New Worlds teaser trailer right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on this continuing conversation that two lifelong friends have been having since they were 6 years old. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David Z. Robertson.
Dave, let's talk Star Trek, buddy.
Oh my lord. Can we just talk about the Strange New Worlds thing first?
Yes, of course.
Because there's not like a lot of it.
No, there's not, but it's beautiful. Just beautiful. That's my main takeaway from the trailer.
It is. Like, did freaking Larry Fong shoot this show? Oh my god.
I like what they're doing to, like, I don't know. This is... I want to contrast it to something like Roland Emmerich, who like makes these big landscapes and stuff, but they look very real. You know what I mean? They're doing a really cool thing. I mean, it's called Strange New Worlds. Like, you want to make it interesting, and like I don't feel like I'm watching a real thing, but it's still live action. I don't know. Like, they just look so freaking pretty. Like, it's just that they look like Strange New Worlds. You know, they don't look like. Classic Star Trek, which is like we're just shooting in a desert and kind of tinting it a little bit or whatever.
Yeah, which I do enjoy.
Oh yeah, sure.
for different reasons.
Yeah. The nostalgia of that, but the Strange New Worlds look amazing.
I love this, and I don't know that this is the reason, but it seems like Pike might be kind of holed up, just kind of contemplating his future as experienced through the time crystals.
Yeah. And as one does after such an experience, the time crystals, and then like, you know, losing a bunch of crew members and stuff, trying to fight control, and now he's off like trying to figure out what do you do with the knowledge of the future, you know?
And I hope they'll touch some more on the Pike we saw from The Cage, because that was a really big part of his character. It's something that was pretty much one of the only things we knew about Pike for decades. Was he was sick of the responsibility of command. He was sick of choosing who lives and who dies. And he was in that space after the crew member deaths on Rigel in The Cage. So, you know, I like the idea that every few years Pike just has to be like, he has to just nope out of there. Go chill at his ranch, grow a beard, and think about what he's done, like a kid going to his room. Yeah,
you know, it's interesting. We've been talking a lot about the different ways Captain Kirk and Captain Picard are drawn to the Federation, and Kirk seems to love the idea of command. I mean, his story is like the love story of him in the captain's chair, you know. And then you've got Picard, who we're learning is like. And we've known for a long time is running away from human relationships, and his and like the distance that command puts him at is like a good distance that he likes. And now we're finding that, and I think we saw this from him on Discovery, but Pike seems like he is legitimately drawn by duty. Like, he may be the best of them, but like he's really like. Just, he seems to not necessarily he doesn't want the glory or the, like, he's not in a love affair with the captain's chair. He doesn't seem to be running from human connection. He seems bound by duty. At least that's the way he was in Discovery, and that's why I liked him so much. And like they say that, actually, I said that about him being the best of them, and I didn't mean a best of the captains, but I just mean like the best of the Federation. Right. And I just remembered that's actually a quote from Discovery. I think that who is it? The president of the Federation or something says, we sent you off because if something happened, we needed you to be out there still pushing the Federation ideals.
I really hope that over the course of Strange New Worlds, like, I want the last episode to be him saving those children from the fire and getting all marred and whatnot. Like, I want to see his rise to not only, you know, I want to see him transcend captain and become Commodore of the Fleet, or captain of the fleet, or whatever they're calling it. Because he was for a while. He was Commodore Pike, I think, in the Menagerie.
Right. How many years is it supposed to be between the Cage and the Menagerie?
I think it was 15 years.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, but I don't always remember correctly. So,
So did Discovery occur after or before?
Discovery happened after the cage.
Okay. Cool.
I think they said 4 years after the cage. Again, if I remember correctly. I didn't do the research. I didn't look into it. I didn't know Matt was going to ask me these questions, y'all.
You just know more than I do. It's so there's lots of years between now and what has to happen for the cage to occur and him to get hurt. I agree with you. I think like what's so powerful about his character on Discovery is him making the decision to grab that crystal because he knows it's what his duty is, even though he knows. I don't know. I just remember that episode being super powerful. Like he's accepting his dark future. Whoo, man.
Yeah, man. So I love this idea that he's just like, he's got his communicator on his desk and he's hearing it chirp and he's like, I don't want to answer it because that means I might gonna have to go get melted. or just like, I don't know if he knows how long that's going to be. No, I don't think so.
So yeah, it could happen at any moment, but I guess he knows he's an instructor at that point, right? Or something? Or does he? I remember, like, I'm kind of piecing the episode together in my memory. We'll have to go back and rewatch that before the Strange New Worlds, because that episode is pretty signature, because it's like it happens in like a training exercise or something like that with a bunch of young crew, and he has to like let them out. I remember that, but I don't remember.
I can't remember they said it in the menagerie, but okay. I'd like to go back and watch the menagerie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we should do like a menagerie and then watch that Crystal episode and Time Crystal episode, and then before Strange New Worlds. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Call it The Path to Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway. I don't know that we saw much more than that.
We saw that big Georgia O'Keeffe sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of that that cave or whatever. Did we recognize that at all? Does that give us that was the only thing that I was like looking at closely. It seemed like there was a lot going on in that sculpture.
I didn't recognize it, but yeah, this might be another 10 Forward situation.
It could be
like, I don't know. Is there a puzzle?
But I like the setup. I like the setup a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I'm very excited about Strange New Worlds. I'm just so happy with all this Star Trek.
Me too, man. Me too. It really is just so much, and it's just so fun. All right, well, let's get on to talking about this second episode of Picard. I mean, I can't believe there's something so cool to talk about that we had something to talk about up top before we get to episode 2 of Picard, you know? Goodness. Well, what'd you think of the second episode here?
It occurred to me, our friend Jason Smith wrote in and to me and said, this was a great episode. And I thought, it's weird because we review these episode by episode, but I don't feel like this is an episode. And for Picard, even more so than Discovery, feels less like episodes and more like just a mini-series.
I agree. I mentioned last week I thought it felt like a movie instead of a TV show, and I agree that this episode feels like another chunk of that movie, another piece of. I mean, like we got in a resolution. Yes, they had to like. I mean, this is the episode where they discover what their alternate reality lives are like, and they have to escape the Confederation. But we don't know where it goes from there. You know,
I really just wish they would post all of this at the same time. I know it doesn't work for their algorithm. It doesn't work for their subscription model. Yeah, I get that.
And people can save it and watch it that way if they prefer. Obviously, it doesn't work with podcasting, but
no, we can't do that. I mean, we can do that, but anyway, I really enjoyed this episode. I loved the I loved how, like, once they did go a little over the top where it was just like everything Q said, it was just Picard being like, enough of this bullshit, Q. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm done with it, Q. I'm too old for this shit, Q. Mm-hmm. You know, they kind of just like threw everything at the wall on that one. I'm like, yeah, we get it. But once he like toned down a little bit and was like, you're not well.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh.
And then he specifically said later something about the fact that he didn't like seem like he was all there. Like he was like something's wrong mentally with Q.
Yeah.
But he seemed desperate. Q seemed desperate to me. In a way. There's one line where he like gets right up in Picard's face and he's screaming at him and it was like, woo.
Yeah. Then he slaps him.
Yeah, true.
He slaps Picard like a bitch.
I can't remember if he's been physical with Picard in the past. I wouldn't be surprised. I can't really remember.
I don't really remember that. Cisco punched him, and he's like, Picard never punched me. I'm not Picard.
We got a Cisco reference.
We did. It was like my kingdom for Avery Brooks to show up on this show.
Dude, if Avery Brooks had shown up as General Cisco in that moment, even if in an alternate reality where it doesn't affect what we know about the current timeline, like, oh, it'd be so much fun.
I wonder if they tried to get him and he was just like, ping, pong, and they're like, oh yeah, he's not coming back.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I really I like this episode. What do you think? I guess like so we've talked about like how, you know, Star Trek is so expansive with all the time travel that they've had over the years. Time travel works differently at different times. And so sometimes you got the Kelvin timeline type time travel where it goes off and creates a branch timeline. In this case, it's more like Star Trek 4 where they're going back to there's something has happened in the past and now they have to go back and stop it from happening and change their actual timeline.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know what? It immediately makes me think.
What's that?
Discovery is going to use it as an excuse to not get to the 10C.
Well, the current episode that just came out is called The 10C, so they better get there.
I love that they named the episode 10C. I feel like that's directly pointed at me. Listen, if you've fallen off, we're there. We got there. We're gonna see the 10C. For those of you who aren't watching, we're talking about the new season of Discovery. It's concurrently going with this, and they've been kind of waiting to do a big thing, and we're just waiting on it, and hopefully this week.
Loving the tones of or just the putting on display how fascist human beings can be and how brutal, how savage, you know, it's it feels relevant for these times.
Well, and these times, and also this storyline, this character, I mean, this reminded me so much with the people yelling of Encounter at Farpoint, with all the whatever was like the ancient Earth Empire or whatever
in the crooked courts or whatever.
Yeah. It was so much like that. And you know, it's great. The only thing that made me think of watching this episode, it made me think that like, I know we never actually saw Picard in the alternate timeline in the TV shows, but we heard about it, or we read it in books. And like, this reminds me so much of what they did for Mirror Universe. Picard, and it made me think that this at some point was Mirror Universe that they're like encountering, and at some point they made that change. You know, like they're like, because I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to go back and fix it, and they don't want to fix the Mirror Universe, so like, you know, they went with this like alternate timeline in the current timeline thing.
And I love that Q brought how very yesterday's Enterprise,
right?
Like,
and then he said, "Throw a mirror darkly," too.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
That's not an episode title, though. That's just a reference to the same thing. Is there an episode called "Throw a Mirror Darkly"?
Yes, there is.
Okay, is that the DS9 one, or is that the original series one? Original series is Mirror Mirror, right?
Mirror Mirror is the original series, and then DS9 did so many Mirror Universe episodes.
They did, but I was pretty sure one of them was called Through a Mirror Darkly. But yeah, that was neat that Q. I think we should write an article for the website or something that's like, did Q just break the fourth wall? I think he did. I think Q might have just broken the fourth wall. First time in Star Trek we've had a fourth wall break, but I think that was about as close as we're gonna get.
Low key, I think he did. Yeah.
I mean, if he is as powerful as he portends to be, it is absolutely possible. And now we have our Deadpool of the Star Trek universe.
I would take it, dude. I would take let's do Q. Star Trek Q.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Star Trek Q. And he could visit any character at any time and do whatever like every episode's another like a little Q thing. And you kind of get an idea of what his motivations are really like and like what he's really wanting out of the world. I don't know.
That should be Akiva Goldsman's, anthology series where it's called Qniverse. And basically we just visit different realities and different versions of characters we know, and Q is basically Rod Serling, or the Crypt Keeper.
But he can step in when he feels like it.
He can step in when he feels like it.
So it's like he's the anthology wraparound character, but who can also like, ooh, you know what would make this a little more interesting? And then he like sets the warp drive to like explode or something, and it's like, what happened? There's been an anomaly in the warp drive, sir.
Or like something's got to happen. They're like, it would take a miracle for the thing that blah, blah, blah. And then it happens. The miracle happens.
Right.
And then
they saved that for the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Q's like, sometimes you got to have a heart.
Yeah. At the very end, Q is like, how fortuitous. Wink.
I actually love that so much. Like,
I do too.
And it would like weirdly work. Like it would weirdly work if Q was a full-on like fourth wall breaking. He never does it around the characters, of course, because that would mess up his whole deal. But yeah. But if he's talking directly to us as Star Trek fans, that'd be so fun.
I would be all about that shit.
Yeah, man, I love it.
It would be like the best of what they're doing with Picard and what they do on lower decks. How'd you like all of the name drops in the in Picard's like trophy room?
I loved it. I mean, Gul Dukat, Martok. Yeah.
Did you notice that they had a Ferengi skull and that it had the Grand Nagus scepter?
No, I did not notice.
So I don't know if that was. Skull. I don't know if it was Grand Nagus Zek or if it was Rom.
Or any, we don't know how. We know this goes back to 2024, so we don't know at what point they could have like encountered the Confederation and changed. That's crazy. Really cool. The trophy room of alt Picard.
I was. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, another just kind of dark and badass moment is freaking. The freaking fight scene for Eleanor, is freaking amazing. I always talk about this one moment that I love from action television, and it's when there's a scene from freaking 24 where Jack Bauer's a terrorist throws a knife at Jack Bauer and it lands in his shoulder, and he takes the knife out of his shoulder and proceeds to kill all the terrorists with it. And it's like, no, you don't throw a knife at Jack Bauer. You just gave him a knife. Like that's always, they throw that like ninja star at freaking Eleanor, and he dodges it, lets it hit the other guy, and then grabs it out of the other guy's chest and cuts his throat with it.
Yeah.
So freaking brutal.
Yeah. There's a similar, and I don't want to talk about, perceived quality of the film, but that warehouse scene in Batman v Superman, where I can't remember if someone throws the knife or if someone just stabs. I think they just stab Batman in the chest, and he just like looks down and like just yanks it out and like goes to town on him. It's like, oh, don't give Batman a knife.
Yep. Don't throw a ninja star at Eleanor. He's such a badass. And I love that, like, Rafi just kind of, like, unchains him. She's like, they're yours. And, like, gives them to him like a gift.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's so good. And then we've got let's see. Girardi, what'd you think of like how she was portrayed this episode?
Here is an example of doing awkward correctly. Discovery. Because Girardi had a purpose. There was a larger plot. There was a larger purpose. Girardi is awkward, but she wasn't there for awkward's sake. Like, even the, and they were a little on the nose with it, with what Rio said to her. But, she has a freaking Patton Oswalt cat. Yeah. That is her best friend.
It was Patton Oswalt?
It was, yeah.
I thought so, but I wasn't.
It sounded like him, yeah.
It sounded like him, but there was a few moments where I was like, I can't tell for sure.
But she relates to synthetics. She relates to, virtual cats more than she does to people.
I love it. And she's like, I programmed you. And he's like, obviously, meow. That is so freaking funny. That little moment of comedy that she programmed for herself, that her cat does not meow. It says meow every once in a while. That's so funny.
It is. But yeah, I mean, and I'm not trying to, shit on Discovery, but at the same time, they will often just have like, well, we haven't seen Adira for a minute. Let's just have a scene of Adira being awkward. Remember how you guys like that? And, here is just like, here's the situation. We just happen to have an awkward character there. And yes, it is played for laughs a little bit, but also it's just, that's how you do it.
But it's also played for an expansion of her character. The idea that she's like,
absolutely
not, what is the Borg Queen calls or something like something about having not found a home, or not found.
You don't belong or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
I can't remember like the weird insult she gave her, like fragile little something. I can't remember, but it was good. I chuckled and was like, "Oh, that's rough." That Borg Queen, savage AF, y'all.
But Girardi says of herself, "I am mind-bendingly lonely anywhere." I guess it's just like that's. Yeah. Both, that scene is so funny with the cat, and it's funny because she plays it very well, but like it's also like really sad, and you get a sense of her character even more.
For sure.
And I loved we talked a lot about it on Discovery this week, how we were talking about how Star Trek is generally full of these cool, self-confident characters, and then you do have the occasional character that's sort of awkward and funny, and they generally are beloved. But Girardi here is wonderful, partially because all of the other characters are so good at pretending where they are. Like, to differing levels, but like, every one of them sort of like, they freak out for a second, then they realize what's going on, and they play along because they're trying to figure out, they're starting to solve the case. They become like good little Federation officers trying to solve what's going on. Girardi is so bad at it. Like, Seven walks in, and she's like, Seven! And then it's like, so bad at lying to, the president's husband or whatever.
Yeah. My favorite thing that she did this episode was when she goes to that huge rant, that explanation of what they were doing. And then she goes, so like, stand down or whatever.
Yep. That was really great. Oh man. And let's see who else is out there. I think Rios had a really fun part in this episode. Like, it opening with, he freaked out a little more than most. He was like, what is going on? He asked the person on the screen, like, what are we doing? In the middle of like leading this battle.
Yeah.
He's like, what is this? And she's like, it's victory, sir. It's like, oh, victory, right. Against the Vulcans. What are your orders? What are my orders? He's like a little bad at it, but not as bad as Girardi, There's like just differing levels of how competent these people are in like a really crazy situation.
Yep. I was here for it. I enjoyed the whole thing. And also I got to look at that quote unquote data statue, and it said Adam Sung.
Oh, okay.
So, and we did see in the trailer that Q would be interacting in 2024 with looks like an predecessor, an ancestor,
right?
Of
probably
Dr.
Adam Sung. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we see that the Soong type androids are kind of like running the place, or they're a big part of what's going on. And I'm assuming, they talked about it in a last season episode, how, to do a lot of what the Federation does with manpower supplied by synthetics would be really powerful. And, in this case, you've got all these like, they've probably helped to conquer the galaxy, basically.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. Yep. I was talking about the competence of people as they're realizing what's going on. I wanted to mention Seven, because Seven checking for her own reality was awesome.
Mm-hmm. I loved all that.
She's just like, I don't know. I forget all the things she checks because I'm not 7 of 9, but like, it's just so good. Like her scrawling on that board and being like, okay, my cognition is working. Okay, I can smell. It means it's not a dream. I can do this. It's just super fun. My pain receptors are functioning. Such a Borg way of like solving it. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I love that. I love that the Borg Queen knew that time had been fractured and that they didn't go to Guinan for that. Like, because Guinan knew in yesterday's Enterprise.
That's true. I think they will go to her in the past, though. I'm hoping they will.
You think?
I think they will. I mean, we know she was on Earth in like we said a couple episodes, like the 1800s, and like I think we'll probably see her in the past. I do like that they've basically need the Borg Queen to
be the Spock?
Yeah, to be the Spock to accomplish the slingshot maneuver, which means, this season might be about, as much as it is about fixing the past, like, you get those episodes where you've got an enemy who you've hated a long time, and then you have to bring them along you have to work with them because of a greater enemy, a greater threat, right? And then eventually they come to respect you, you come to respect them. We've got the Borg Queen, sort of the quintessential like mind of the collective personified, and she is going to be on an adventure with the crew going to the Earth in the past, Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds like something that could absolutely bring the Borg to understand humanity and maybe even understand the value of the differences that people have and not unifying everyone as one. Like you could see maybe the Borg itself as personified by the Borg Queen could sort of like learn a lesson here that might, I don't know, could do the thing that this season started with, which is make peace with the Borg.
Mm-hmm.
That could be rad.
It could be. That'd be really, potentially be very interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, and that brings me back to my first question in this episode, which is like, what is Picard seeking forgiveness for?
Not helping his mother against his father. That would be my first guess.
I thought about that. I also thought about, given the Borg context, his hatred of the Borg. He spent like a long, long time hating the Borg.
Yeah.
But they are people just like him, and he was able to escape the collective, and he never really went back to try to help anyone else. There's that. Like, I don't know what thing that Q is talking about, but Q said this is penance. It's time for you to like seek forgiveness. And he's like, forgiveness for what? And Q just says, I think you know. Right.
And, Patrick Stewart, apparently, I learned this on that Star Trek podcast with Sean Ray last night. Apparently, Patrick Stewart was on the whatever that after show is that Will Wheaton does.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. And he was saying that Picard's memories with his mother might not have been completely true. Picard might be an unreliable narrator here.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering about that and how that his mother getting dragged off by some sort of force seemed like a horror element to me.
Yeah, it did.
Which means, like, was she dragged off by something else? Was she dragged off by an abusive situation? Like, I don't know. Like, was that being dragged off and taken away? Was that some sort of metaphor?
Like, we have seen Picard's mother. We saw her on TNG as an older woman, so I don't think she was murdered.
Right.
And we've heard Picard talk about her quite a bit. I looked her up on Memory Alpha, and I was like, oh yeah, she's still around, or she was for a while.
Okay.
So, I think they're going to play into what Patrick Stewart's real life is, because they did often talk about, like, you know, his trouble with his dad, how his mom and dad fought a lot. And they played into it here as well, like about, you know, will that make the screaming go away or whatever. But Patrick Stewart's dad was a soldier, wound up coming back home, and was an alcoholic and used to beat his wife and whatnot. And I think his brother as well. So, and he would see it harmed his relationships with women for his entire adult life, and he looked back at his dad as this monster. And just a few years ago, he wound up looking into it, and he realized his dad had PTSD. They didn't have that designation, you know, at the time. So his dad was shell shocked,
right,
as they said back then, and was really struggling, and would come home and go nuts and beat his wife and kids and shit. So I'm wondering if they're not gonna pull some of that.
You could definitely see them pulling from his life, if for no other reason, to like get real like buy-in from Patrick Stewart. Like, what's the story you want to tell about Picard's life, you know? Which
they've been doing that, you know, for a while now. Like, he was the person who I was wrong on that Star Trek podcast. I thought that Robert, Renee, and Marie died in the fire in Generations, and Sean was like, no, it was just Robert and Renee. So I had to look it up, and I was screwing it up. Like, in the movie, he just says Robert and Renee, but Patrick Stewart wanted all three of them to die in the fire. And in fact, they had, like, he was the one that said, well, Picard needs something to run parallel to this storyline with Soren and losing time and losing something. So why don't we kill off the family or whatever? And then they said, they actually wrote into the script that Robert walked out of his vineyard one day and had a heart attack and died. And Patrick Stewart was like, that's not enough. It needs to be everyone. And it needs to be a horrible death. It really needs to burn Picard alive.
Damn.
And that's how they like came to, they just burned to death horribly in a fire.
Wow.
But that was like Patrick Stewart, like, no, this needs to be a tragedy, and it needs to be like the final Picard. It needs to like tie in with like everything he's ever believed about himself. Like, he didn't have the pressure to carry on the name, and now the name will end because his cherished nephew is gone. Not only is his cherished nephew gone, his line is over.
Yeah.
Dude, you could tell he's acted to some tragedies. Shit, dude.
Yeah. And I've always loved the weight that gives Generations, that the death of his family.
And that is absolutely the best part of Generations.
I mean, there's so much Generations I love. I really love that movie.
Me too.
But
it's fundamentally irreconcilably flawed, but I love that movie, and I don't give a shit.
Sure. So is basically everything in some way. And but that is one of the biggest things for the turn of Picard's character and really who he is. I mean, even his anger in First Contact toward the Borg, like, he's an angry man, but part of what makes you get over anger in life is like the people you love and like not wanting to hold on to that sort of thing because you have to be a better man to be a loving person, and he doesn't have to do that. Or weed. Yeah. He doesn't have to do that, and he's just sort of a dark figure in First Contact, and I've always considered part of that is the loss of his family, you know, that like he's still dealing with all of that. It's a really interesting turn, and I think like going back, see, this is what the first season, I really like the first season of Picard, except for a few notes on the ending. But this seems to have the potential, this story. I mean, we're telling the path not taken the Q story, like the wrapping up the Q and Picard relationship.
Yeah.
Possibly bringing some closure to the Borg and Picard relationship. Possibly getting to touch on definitely getting to touch on his family as well, and his history and what that means to him. Like, this season is really shaping up to have a lot of things going on in the mind of Picard that I really want to see. Not to mention the relationship with Data, with getting to talk to or deal with the ancestor of Soong. So yeah, this seems to really, really have a lot going for it. I'm even more excited this week after seeing a second episode.
Yeah, it was another fine episode. It's hard to say that it was like an actual episode, but it was a chapter, and it was very good.
Yeah. Both of these episodes are definitely snippets of a bigger story. They don't feel as, there's not a lot of closure from anything that happens. I mean, the adventure of getting away from the Confederation, that's brought closure, but nothing else really. So I'm super excited. I liked one of my favorite lines was same crop, different harvest.
Yes, or same day, same time, different harvest.
That's what it is. Whew, that's I love that. I love the metaphor. It's just really, really good. Yeah, that's it. Same day, different harvest. Woo. So, by the way, the magistrate was Soji's dad in real life. The guy that was married to President 7. Oh, interesting.
President Ianaka.
Weird.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weird that Soji didn't join for the season.
She busy, man. She got shit to do. She'll get there.
What's she doing?
I don't know. She was like hosting like a dinner party. She's like schmoozing it up, man.
Right. Oh,
I don't know.
In the alternate reality. That's what I mean. Like,
no, I don't know what she's doing in the alternate reality, but
I don't think she's joining for this adventure, is she? Or do we know? Do we have an idea?
I don't know. We might see her in the alternate reality and have to deal with like a different version of her. And I doubt it, because it seems like they're trying to get directly to the past, at least for a minute.
Yeah, I found it weird when she left the dinner party and they didn't have a reason to write her to take off with Jurati. I guess we're just left to, I guess she's not going to be a regular player on this season, unless there's some sort of like, we play with some idea if she's playing some different character in 2024, but that seems weird. Like, who knows? Maybe she's an ancestor. She's like modeled after an ancestor as well, just like Data is. Maybe those genes are very strong.
We don't know what the season's path is going to be like.
Right. Well, we know they go to 2024 from trailers, and we know that they have now escaped the Confederation. Or did they? What was the last thing that happened? No, they're trapped. They got captured at the end.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, that's right. Sorry. They beamed aboard the ship, and that's how it ended. I just remember they were all on the ship. I was like, didn't they kind of escape? Are they about to do the slingshot maneuver?
No, I love that they brought up like Kirk's Enterprise did it a few times.
Yeah,
yeah, they did.
They did indeed. I find it a little weird though, because like time travel seems like it should have a higher bar, and like if most Vulcans can do it, I don't know if it's just because Spock is that good at doing the math, or if like most Vulcans could probably do the math and go back in time.
Well, I don't think he's that great at doing the math. Like, I think there's a, as he says in, I believe in the original series, it was somewhat accidental. They were trying to get close to the sun to kill a virus or something. I can't remember. God, I need to go back. But yeah, there's the whole bit in Star Trek 4 where he was like, there are too many variables. All I can give you is a hunch. And McCoy's like, I think he trusts your hunch more than most people's facts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a little, it's a little iffy, but
right.
Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks for chatting about Star Trek, Dave. Huh?
Well, I said we need to shut it down. I gotta go.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting about Star Trek, Dave. I'll talk to you soon. And thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be back soon with a Discovery take. Peace.
Joel on true, and live long and prosper.
Right, that thing. Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.